All right, next step is combining distributive property along with adding like terms. And so when you have problems like this, you always want to look to, of course, do the distributive property whenever possible. So the 4 is all by itself, but then we have this -3 outside parentheses, and so what that means is you have to distribute it. So everything on the inside has to be multiplied by -3. So you're going to have 4, and then plus a -3 times a 5y, and then you have a minus sign, and so now you have -3 times 7. And now we can multiply each of these out, so that gives us 4, plus a -15y, and then minus a negative gives you a positive 21. And now we look for like terms. The 4 and 21 are like terms, and so that gives us 25 plus a -15y. You could also rewrite that as -15y plus 25, or you could also write it as 25 minus 15y. All three of these are the same thing. Now, sometimes they'll give you what the answer is, and they give you choices, and you have to figure out which choice, or both choices, give you the answer. So sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's none of them. So basically you have to go through and solve each of these problems and see which one will give you 15b minus 7. So first up, we have a distributive property with this 4 outside parentheses. And so if we multiply that through, you get 4 times 3b minus 4 times 2 plus 3b plus 1. This gives you 12b minus 8 plus 3b plus 1. And now we can look for like terms, the 12 and the 3, the 8 and the 1. And so this gives us 15b minus 7. That is what we're looking for. So this is a good answer. Now, let's look at the next one. We have a -5, and we want to multiply that to those two numbers. So we have -5 times 2 minus -5 times 3b, and then we have plus 2 at the end. And so -5 times 2 is -10. A negative and a negative gives you a positive 15b, and then we bring down the plus 2. And then this and this are like terms, so that gives us 15b, and a negative and a positive gives us a, -8. So we want -7, but we got -8, so B is not a good answer. Next, similar to what we were doing earlier, we just have to identify where the distributive property is going to happen, and that is right here with this 5 when we multiply it to these two. Remember, when there's no number in front of a variable, you can put a 1 there, so you get a -1a. And so we have 4a plus 5 times a -1a plus 5 times a -5. 5 times a -1 gives you a -5a plus 4a out front. And then this gives you a -25. We can add these two because they both have a's. And so that gives you a -1a plus a -25. And that would be your answer for this one. Same thing here. Negative numbers and distribution. Sometimes the numbers are positive, sometimes they're negative. But we have a 3 outside parentheses. So that means we were going to multiply this by 3 and this one by 3. So -h plus 3 times 2h minus 3 times 5. And so this is a -1h plus 6h minus 15. And then we realize that this and this are like terms, -1 and positive 6, because they both have the variable h. And they're different, so you have to subtract. And so your final answer between these two would be a positive 5h minus 15. And so this is what you have to do when you have numbers outside parentheses. You have to apply the distributive property. And if you have multiple terms, sometimes you have to combine the like terms to get your final answer. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me on Monday and Friday during open office hours from 1 to 3, or you can also ask questions during class. Have a nice day.